Hello and welcome back to Halos. It's Cynthia, and today my topic is learning how to read a regular deck of playing cards. We're entering autumn now, and pretty soon we will have Halloween parties, Christmas parties, New Year's parties, but that doesn't exclude things like warmer climates having garden parties still, or women's brunches, baby showers, and things like that, birthday parties, where you might want to read cards as part of the entertainment for a party. So this is the absolute quickest and easiest method to learn to read cards, and it does not necessarily require any intuition. So if you're planning to have a party this fall or into the spring and summer of next year, this might be a good time for you to learn, or have somebody that you know learn to read cards for your party. Now, people do learn to read cards like this for serious purposes, but today my focus is on how to do it for entertainment purposes only. So I'm going to just dive right into my notes, and I will show you the notes so you can, stop the camera and read them if you can. I don't know if that's legible. I guess I will also type them up in the bottom. But so first of all, I have a regular deck of playing cards here. This is an Omnia. Let me see what it says here. Sorry, I need to borrow my glasses. It's an Omnia Perduta deck of regular playing cards. It's from Italy. They're Italian cards. They look like regular playing cards, and they are. Each suit has a different culture on it: Greek, Babylonian, Egyptian, and one other. It comes with 2 jokers, and it also comes with an extra queen that is an emerald background, kind of. It's called emerald, but it's sort of a kind of a sagey green, and as you can see, the box is really luminescent and gilded. So these cards are, I looked them up, and they're $40 cards, so they're rather expensive. They're really slick and easy to use, but you can use any deck of regular playing cards that you get at the dollar store, at the department store, in the back of your drawer, your junk drawer, or in the game closet that you have. And if you just work on this method, you can do a pretty good job of reading cards at your next party. Please remember that when you read cards at a party, you are not going to get into the deep issues of people's life problems. That is not what guests want to do at a party. Instead, this is not, I'm telling you that in this type of a setting, it's not for serious reading purposes. Serious things might come up, but you want to keep that down. Even if you're a very intuitive person, put your intuition away. This is purely for fun and entertainment, and your goal is to delight the guests with somewhat outrageous predictions so they can have something to talk about at the party. If you do a good job and delight people, they might call you for their party or for personal readings of their own at home that are more in depth with personal things. So first of all, let's talk about the suits. Now we have 4 suits in a regular playing card deck, and I'll just show you those in case you don't know. This would be diamonds, and just as a normal deck, we've got our royals. There's only 3 royal cards in a regular deck. We have hearts. We have the clubs. And we have the spades. So if you're using these, whether it's for entertainment purposes or spiritual purposes, which would be the more serious version of readings, these suits coordinate with the suits of the tarot deck in this way. The cups represent the hearts, and hearts hold your emotions and your feelings. So the hearts deck represents your emotions. The coins is your clubs, okay? And I like to think about 3 coins here. See 3 little coins? So that's how it's easy to remember. I know different people have different designations for those, but to me this makes more sense because I see it and I immediately think, oh, 3 coins. And I'm even reminded of that song, 3 coins in a fountain. So diamonds is your swords deck. And swords represent communication. So the diamonds have a sharp edge, but they look like a letter or a note, a piece of paper. So that helps me remember what that suit is. And finally, the spades represent wands because it kind of looks like a tree or a leaf from a tree. So that helps me remember what the suits are. And wands represent action and inspiration, whereas the diamonds represent communication from a letter. But any kind of communication, just remind you it's a letter, communication, emails, phone calls, speaking. And that's what swords represent anyway. Now, this may or may not help you. It depends how much you want to learn. But cups go with water, and they hold water. It's an element, and it represents emotions. Coins represent earth. Earth represents everything physical from your body to all of the goods you need to buy, which includes your work to get that. So it's the tangible world from your body out. Anything you can touch, feel, buy, or work for. The swords are anything communication oriented, so that would include your thoughts, your knowledge or education, how you express that, so giving speeches, writing letters, talking on the phone, having a conversation, whether it's lighthearted or deeply serious. Swords or diamonds represent that. Your wands or your spades deck represents action and inspiration. So that is what you would do with all this emotion, money, and communication are just things that set up what you actually can do. So then you'd go out and take action. You'd do something. You'd be inspired by all of the others to go out and accomplish something, reach a goal, run a marathon, start a business. All the others just set the foundations of that up. So in regard to what kind of a personality each of these suits represent, the cups or hearts represents the moody person. The coins or clubs represents the earthy person that's sensible, the sensible person. The swords or diamonds represents the organized person. We've all met the organized person. I'm not one of those people. And the wands or spades represents the action-oriented person, the athlete, the person that's constantly doing stuff, versus the sensible person who might be more apt to sit around studying, or the organized person who doesn't take action but is constantly getting everything in order mentally and physically. And the moody person is the drama queen, the person that complains a lot, gets offended easily, is deeply emotional, maybe the artistic type, the musician, the actor. So it's those types of personalities. And you might think the moody person would be your actor or musician. Your sensible person might be your scholar. Your organized person might be the phlegmatic office type, an accountant, an engineer, a secretarial type person. And your action person is your athlete. Your choleric person, that might be the person that gets people action oriented. They might be referred to as a military drill sergeant, the one that gets the fire under people, and so on. So those are the personality types that fit into, and we'll talk about that more later, but very simply, moody person, sensible person, organized person, and action person. Now, each suit has cards numbered from 1 to 10. So we can give those numbers 1 to 10 a one-word interpretation. And that's very easy to remember for quick learning of card reading. So you can choose any meaning that you want to. Some people go with numerology designations. Numerology is a discipline of spiritual advising. You can get very in-depth with what each number means. But for our purposes, we're going to keep it very simple. Number 1 means beginnings. Number 2 means partnership. Number 3 means friendship. Number 4 means hearth and home. Number 5 means the challenges that you face. Number 6 is job, career, and money. Number 7 is your inner beliefs and philosophies. Number 8 celebrates your successes. Number 9 is your wisdom and the lessons gained in life, all the things you learned. And number 10 would represent conclusions, the bringing to end of whatever situation is at hand. So what you would do is you would match those meanings up with the suit meaning. So for example, a number 1 of hearts would be the beginning of emotional feelings, possibly romance, but it could be friendship. A number 2 is partnership, and if you match that up with the 2 of clubs or the 2 of coins, that would be a partnership for a financial deal of some kind. If the 2 was in hearts, it would be more like an engagement or a friendship forming. If the 2 was in the swords or diamonds suit, it would be a partnership that's in writing, such as a contract. And if the 2 ended up in the wands or spades suit, it would be the ability to take action with more than one person. You and another person would go out and accomplish something. So maybe it would be something like you'd finally find the exercise buddy you're looking for, or somebody to go on a trip with you, or somebody to help you with a project or something like that. It would not be romantically oriented. So that's how that would work. The clubs, let's see, the swords, I guess, are communication oriented. So if it was a 1 of diamonds or swords, that would be you writing an initial letter to somebody, possibly a proposal. I'd like to purchase your house. I'd like to invite you to come to my party. Something where it's the beginning of something like that. And then wands or spades is action. So say we picked number 7, which is beliefs. So that would be you take action with your beliefs. Instead of just thinking about what you believe in, you might join up with a religious group or spirituality discussion group. You'd actually take action and go to that instead of just thinking about it or pondering it. So that is the simple way to do that. And right now, it's still August. You have plenty of time to sit down and memorize this and learn it for your upcoming holiday parties. Like I said, you don't need to be intuitive. There are many people who use this method for intuitive card reading purposes, and they do it seriously for their clients. But there is a lot more to card reading than this. If this was it, then we wouldn't need, this would be the end of the YouTube series for this. So then, let's see what else I have noted down. Okay, so I can't read my own writing, that's the problem. So this is the quickest way to learn cards. It's memorization only. You don't need any intuition. And in fact, if you have intuitive abilities, if you're reading at parties, put your intuition away. I've done parties before, and if you go too deep with people at a mirthful party, they end up crying. The reading was so good, but it turns the party into an emotional event that is not intended, okay? So your duty as a party entertainer is that, an entertainer. If you're going to someone's Halloween party, Christmas party, New Year's party, birthday party, this is not the time to bring out your intuitive gifts and diagnose, bring up, and treat the deep problems that people have. That's not appropriate. For that, people need a private reading where there's no listeners standing nearby and their private problems are not aired in public. That would not be fair to them. They don't know that. So this is the time for you to bring out more outrageous predictions that are funny and outlandish and probably not true, and all the guests know that. And if you can delight the guests with fun predictions, then they might hire you for their party too. And if you're not for hire, then it's just, maybe you want to do this at your party, or you have somebody that would be willing to do this for you. You have to, at all times, whether it's for serious or entertainment purposes, you go to the dollar store and get a picture frame. and you need to have typed up or nicely handwritten, you can do this, a disclaimer. And it needs to say disclaimer because you have to protect yourself legally. And it needs to say this, this reading is for entertainment purposes only. So you need to put on it, entertainment purposes only. Readings are never to be regarded as a replacement for medical, legal, or psychological or state licensed advisement at any time, and tips appreciated. So what you can do is in large letters at the top of your insert to your picture frame, put tips appreciated in really big letters, and then underneath in smaller but very readable letters, disclaimer, for entertainment purposes only. Readings are never to be regarded as a replacement for medical, psychological, legal, or other state licensed advisement at any time. And that protects you because someone somewhere could say, I thought that was a psychologist I was talking to, and I did everything they said, and now look, my life's a mess. You don't want that. You have to, even famous television psychics will often state this before they start a reading, and I've seen that done before. So that's very important to do that. It protects you, and in some cases, in like metaphysical centers, before you are even allowed a reading, you have to sign that you know that this is a disclaimer and you accept it before they take your money. Okay, so then the other thing that comes up is how to collect money. Sometimes you're hired for a party and the guests don't have to pay, your host will pay you up front. You should always get paid up front before the party starts. You can also have a cancellation fee, and it should be at least the amount of money that it costs you in gas to get there and back, because you're going to spend time probably packing. I know a lot of people that pack a suitcase with wheels on it that have all kinds of decorative table decor that is mystical, crystal balls, angel statues, things like that, candles. I don't recommend the use of candles. Twice I have seen that a match somehow fell onto the floor and carpet catches fire. So I never recommend using candles or real incense that burns. And what is better is to get the battery operated candles. And I know this sounds a little goofy, but I've used this method before for incense, and people have no idea. But you go to Walmart and you get a can of scented spray, room freshener spray. They come in all kinds of beautiful scents now, vanilla. I've used that before, and people are like, oh my gosh, it smells just like baking cookies. Or linen smells really good, lavender. So you can pick a scent that's just really beautiful, and people appreciate that, and they don't know that you don't have incense burning. But be aware that some people have asthma, and they don't appreciate that, and they certainly don't appreciate incense. So as mystical as that is, if it's not at your house or your business, stay away from it. You don't want somebody else's house to burn down. And it's happened to psychics. I know that the match somehow fell on the floor, or one of the guests knocked over the incense burner and the charcoals fell out, and the carpet did catch on fire. And synthetic carpet burns real quick, so just don't use that. Get a battery operated candle or candles, and get your spray room freshener in scents that you think would work, and use that instead. It works just as good, and there's no fire danger. So you really don't want that, because you don't want the liability of that. But when you collect money, there's different ways to do it. So you can tell the person hosting the party in this, whether it's a business or at a home, collect the money from your guest first. I charge this much per guest per minute. A good amount it depends on how many guests you have. If you have 8 guests, you can get 15 minutes per guest in a 2-hour time block. If you have more than that, you might want to collect for, say you're there for 3 hours, so you might want to collect your hourly fee up front and just say each guest can have a 2-card reading as they come randomly. And if you do that 2-hour time block with 8 guests, you might do $15 for 15 minutes, and the guests pay the hostess, and then she gives you the money. Why do I say that? Well, there was a party that occurred one time. It was the party I was at. I was told to just collect the money as I needed to. Everything went fine. And then someone offered me a $50 bill, and there was a lot of distractions going on, people milling around everywhere, people fumbling through all of my stuff. I was scared that my crystal ball would fall and get broken. A cracked crystal ball is not one thing that you want to work with in seriousness or as a prop for a party. And and I'm not that great with math and counting money and stuff. I haven't done it in a while anyway, right now, but at the time it just wasn't my talent, and somehow things got mixed up. So this person had a really good reading. It was on spot in every way, and I collected the money after the fact, and that he immediately thought that I was swindling him, which I wasn't. I was just mixed up, and that wrecked the reading for that couple. It was a birthday party for someone that reached a significant age, and it was a big to-do, and so that ruined it for that guest. And then, if they gossip, look out for that psychic, she's out to take you. And that wasn't true, but there is a mystique with psychics are magically able to just pull all those kinds of tricks on people, and whether you can do that or not, and I totally don't suggest that, it is not a good idea to mess with money at your table. So you ask your hostess to collect the money in advance and then pay you before the party starts, and give the guests a ticket, which can be something as simple as a slip of paper that says ticket for 15 minutes of reading, or something like that. And then if your hostess wants to, they can even give you a bowl of little gifts to give them after their reading's over in exchange for their ticket. So, at the metaphysical center I worked at, they worked it out where we got a 50-50 split, and the Querist purchased a ticket for $20. We gave a 20-minute reading in exchange for the ticket, and then at the end of the day we turned our ticket in and received $10 for each ticket that we collected. So we had to remember to collect the tickets from the customer before we gave the reading. If you don't have that situation, get one of those big metal coffee cans with a plastic lid and cut a slit in it. Spray paint it a mystical color, but I wouldn't decorate it heavily, because what you want on there is a notation that you print out or handwrite that is prominent, that says exact change only, I cannot make change. $20 for 20 minutes, $5 for 5 minutes, $1 per card reading, and then they have to figure out how much they want to put in there, and then that's between them and the money can, and you don't mess with it. Once it's in there, it's in there. So that's how you handle money. But this is, for today, this is the simplest way to learn to read cards quickly for the upcoming party season. And you don't need intuition to read cards. And, I had some notes today, but it is a good idea to work with this so that you don't really need notes. However, if you feel a little bit intimidated, you can get a couple of dollar store picture frames, and you can write down, what 1 through 10 means and what the royal cards mean. The royal cards, by the way, the king indicates an authoritative man. The queen indicates an authoritative woman. I forgot to go over that. The jack in a regular deck of playing cards indicates a young adult or a child. And the jack represents the querist, the person coming for the reading. Sometimes they use the Queen of Hearts, but I don't like that because that takes her out of the deck to do the readings with. And so I think the jack is a better option for representing the querist. Now, I want to leave you with one reading that I'll do, but before that, I'd like to suggest a couple of simple readings you can do for people at parties when you use this method. The one card reading answers the question very plainly. They say, I want to know something, and you pick a card. So you got the 5 of coins. You will have physical and financial challenges this year. And then you can embellish that oh, you're going to have a really rough time, and you could pick a month, in November, you're going to be struggling. Well, that's probably obvious anyway. A lot of people are struggling before the holidays to pay for holiday stuff. So that would probably ring true. But if you're at an entertainment purposes only party, what you want to do is embellish that to be a little outrageous. It's still believable, but it gives guests something to talk about. So instead of just saying, dear me, you might have financial challenges, you might say something a little bit more outrageous, like you're going to buy a yacht or a boat within the next 6 months, and then you won't be able to pay for it. So you'll try to return it. Okay, well, not very many people are going to do that. Some will, but it's a little more outrageous. So people are going to then have something to talk about. She said, I'm going to buy a boat. I live in a desert. We never go to the ocean. I wonder what's going to happen. Now, sometimes people will come back to you and say, that happened. But this is for fun only. This is really not intuitive at all. So I have selected some cards here to show you how to do a reading. And so the cards that I picked in advance was the 8 of Hearts, the 3 of Hearts, the Queen of Clubs, the 4 of Spades, the 5 of Diamonds, and the 6 of Spades. So how you would interpret that is you would give the assigned meaning. So you would, look up, it's this suit and it means this. So that's how you'd practice until you get it down. And just like memorizing multiplication cards, you would memorize. This is not intuitive at all. It's entertainment only. And so this reading here would mean the 8 of Hearts would be a success in emotional matters. The 3 of Hearts is a dear friendship. The Queen of Clubs is an authoritative woman of wealth. The 4 of Spades is to take action at home. The 5 of Diamonds represents challenges, possibly through communication or a letter. It could be an argument. It could be an intense phone call. It could be a contract of some kind that you think a lot about signing, or maybe want to sign and don't quite have it together to do that. And the 6 of Spades represents financial action. So how would you interpret it? Well, in the most plain sense, you would say you will succeed in a matter of friendship between yourself and a well-off friend over a matter of hearth and home via some form of communication regarding a pending financial issue that still requires your action. So, in other words, you and a friend, you and a family member are going to go into business, and it will be challenging. Okay, so that would be, if that was intuitive, then you would further intuit the reading with person one-on-one. And they might tell you, oh my gosh, my business is going under. I got into business with my sister-in-law, and she won't pay her half now. Okay, so those are then problems that you then pull more cards on to get more information. That would be intuitive. That would be private. And you would then, read the cards intuitively, which is from your heart and what you're being shown. And you might be shown things in your mind and, emotionally in other ways. But if this is at a party, you don't want to get that deep, because that person may not want the whole rest of the guests to know that their business is failing, that they're having problems getting off the ground. They don't want people to know that. So how would you remedy that? You would tell them that you will meet a very wealthy friend, and you will buy a casino in Monaco, and you will struggle to get that off the ground. So that ups it way beyond what most people would be able to do. Some wealthy people probably could, depends on your party. But that would give your guests something to talk about, and it would not interfere with their personal lives. But they might go away from the table thinking, whoa, she hit on something. And that is because of the card draw and your intuition. You just have to make sure that in a crowded party atmosphere, you don't bring up people's really deep issues, because those are personal. Now, if you do a good job at the party, people are entertained, they leave happy, they have lots of things to think about, and yet inside they're thinking, wow, that reading touched on some stuff that she didn't really bring up, but it could have went that way. And you know it too. You can sense intuitively that you're on the right track, but you're refraining from bringing that up. Then, if you're intuitive, that is, some people are not. Then those people may call you for private readings, and people ask you at the table, "Do you have a card?" You need to bring business cards, which you can print out yourself and just write up by hand. You can take 8 by 10 pieces of typing paper, coffee stain them, and just write your name and your phone number on there, and then put your title, spiritual advisor, whatever you call yourself. And you can put your business name, like mine is Halos. Right now, in the past, I had different names that I used. You don't have to purchase business cards. In fact, the ones that you make yourself are cooler, especially if they're coffee stained and they're kind of wrinkled and they look age old. Just make sure that they're the right size of a business card. People keep those in their wallet for decades. I have people call me decades later, "I still have your handmade card." And I had some printed too at different times. But people do keep those sometimes for a lifetime, because meeting up with the spiritual advisor is special. And a lot of people don't always go to spiritual advisors, but if they get the opportunity to sit with you at a party, even for just a few minutes, they remember that for their lives. So that's how it's done. It's very quick, and you can work on this now if you're planning to have a Halloween party, holidays, New Year's Eve type of thing. And on into the summer, there's plenty of birthday parties coming up, baby showers, bridal showers, retirement parties, all different kinds of events that you might like to have a spiritual advisor at your event, or you want to be the spiritual advisor at an event. So, and you might be throwing your own event and thinking, how am I going to arrange this? And this, if you can learn this or have somebody that learn this, then you can, avoid having to pay out so much, because psychics can cost a lot of money. But this is the most simple form, and it does not in any way require intuition, and that's why it is billed as for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes means it's not intuitive, it's not psychic, it's entertainment. And people know that because you've put a disclosure up. So I like to thank you for starting this journey, and we will keep going because it gets more deeper in knowledge, and there's a lot more to do with this subject than just this. And also keep in mind that if you learn this method well and you are intuitive, there are many psychics who use this method for real intuitive readings, and it comes in handy. Because if you are out and about and you happen to mention in passing, "Oh yeah, I'm a professional cartomancer," is one way to call it. I do spiritual advising with card readings. Somebody will say, "Can you read my cards?" And whether you should always respond with, "I charge for that," unless you don't want to charge for it. And if you're just learning, you might say, "Sure, I take tips," or "I do it for a love offering." And people are very willing to pay for that, even if it's just a little bit. And sometimes people don't have money, but they'll give you something in exchange. They might have a restaurant gift card or something like that, or a pack of gum even, that they're willing to give you in exchange for a reading. And I always tell people it's bad luck to do a reading without getting something in return. So I think that if you're going to do this, you need something. That's my personal feelings about that. But you have to decide what you want to do for yourself, and I just think it's valuable to be thanked with some kind of a gift. But you have plenty of time to learn this, and it can go into the deeper avenues of real intuitive readings that you can charge money for in the long run if you wanted to. And if you don't, if you just want to do this for yourself, you have everything you need to give yourself a proper tarot reading with a regular deck of playing cards. Now, there is something that's missing, and that would be the major arcana cards. There's 22 of those, And I did not list them because you don't have to have them to do this kind of a card reading. So what can you do? Now, first of all, and as a side note, some people actually take a ballpoint pen and they just write the meanings right on the card face. So if you get a dollar store deck of cards, these are very slick, and since they're so expensive, I would not do that to these. Sometimes you can get decks of cards at casinos. They sell the old decks for not very much money. And you can buy one deck for a memento and the other one to use, and you can write the meanings at, on the deck or on the card face. And that is kind of cheating, but, if you're just learning, it's actually a good idea, because the more you read and see that, the more you'll remember it. So it's not a bad idea to do that starting out too. And actually, these cards here that came out a couple years ago, they're called Gypsy Witch fortune telling, and all they mean by that is that they're a regular deck of playing cards, but what they did was they take the card, the regular playing card, and they write down what they say that it means on all the different ones. So that's not something that isn't done. But if you're doing a more formal reading for paying clients, then you probably don't want to do that. I mean, but maybe it would look mystical to have all kinds of stuff written all over the cards too. So you have to decide that yourself. But if you want to replace the major arcana cards, since this deck doesn't come with that, you can just draw the shape of the card onto 8x10 cardstock, cut them out, coffee stain them if you want to, and then write the major arcana name on it: Empress, Joker, or not Joker, Fool, Hermit, and you can put the meaning under it. You don't even have to draw a picture, or you can, draw a picture on it of your own, but you don't have to. Other ideas include having the little gemstones you can get at the dollar store, but I found those are very hard to attach words to. I've tried that with trying to glue little pieces of paper or stickers onto the bottom, and it doesn't stick very good. Nail polish doesn't seem to work very good either, so I don't recommend that. It looks pretty, but unless you can remember each one is a different color and each one goes with the major arcana card and which is which, then that's too hard for a beginner, unless you have a really excellent memory. Another way to do that is to use lids from water bottles. They're just little, they don't cost anything, they're going to go in the trash anyway. You can cut out little paper circles to stick inside the lid and write down what they mean. You can even spray paint the lids if you want to, like you could spray paint them gold, and then they go into a little bowl and the person can just pick out a couple of them. So it's not a card draw like you would with the regular tarot deck, but you can still get major arcana card meanings into your reading if you'd like to, and in that case it would highlight something about the reading. So you could do that with the lids. What else could you use? Some people go and buy little charms that go on the little charm bracelets, all different ones. If you get 22 of them, they can represent the major arcana card. You could use dice. A wooden block of dice represents, it has 6 sides, so 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, so that's 2 more than the major arcana has. So you could paint each side and write what it is: Empress, Fool, Hermit, Justice on each one, and even match the numbers up. But you really couldn't, because each dice only has so many numbers, but the dice might work for that. So you can think of different ways to incorporate major arcana cards into your reading if you wanted to do that, but for this it's really not necessary, and this is just really mystical and fun. So thank you for joining me, and we will get into the more serious readings later, but I'm going to put my notes below in the comments section, so if you wanted to put a party on for entertainment purposes only that is not truly intuitive, you can start planning to do that because it does take a little practice. So thanks for joining me, and we'll talk again on my next video. Bye-bye.